The Sonic franchise has had a lot of iconic female characters in its 30 or so years. You know, Amy, Rouge, but there's one that, although being met with both critical and fan acclaim, is pretty much the definition of underrated and underutilized. So today, join myself and a fellow Sonic connoisseur, who I'm very happy to have on for this.
What's up, Goxays? It's Samic, your dojo master of the EternalSamurai, and what an honor it is to collab with Eldarin while talking about my most favorite character, Blaze the Cat. So thanks for having me here, Eldarin.
Happy to have you, Samic, as we're turning the clocks back all the way back to 2005 to the release of Sonic Rush! We have a lot to cover, so we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty per se of Sonic Rush's overall development, as maybe that could be saved for its own video topic, but more Blaze's involvement / creation in Sonic Rush. That being said, Samic and myself got what you need, and we're going back to back, taking a deep dive into the concept art and development of everyone's favorite fire-powered princess, Blaze the Cat. Let's get started.
Blaze the Cat was introduced in the Sonic series with the game Sonic Rush, and if you ask me, the game is more about Blaze than Sonic as it really delved into her character development. If I were to explain Blaze's personality in a nutshell, other than being afraid of heights and having fire powers or pyrokinesis, I'd say that she's dutiful, strong-willed, prideful, and more importantly, shy and reserved. All these qualities about Blaze are what make her so relatable to many of us, me included. It's no wonder why she's a fan-favorite character in the Sonic fanbase. But anyway, if you don't know much about Blaze and her character, I'd be happy to explain. Blaze is the princess of the Soul Dimension. She was born into royalty, and the throne was eventually handed down to her. She was also given the title of being the guardian of the Soul Emeralds. Essentially, the Soul Emeralds are the Soul Dimension equivalent of the Chaos Emeralds. When all 7 of them are collected, Blaze has the ability to transform into a super form, Burning Blaze. And as a fun fact, she's actually the only female character in the Sonic series to have a super form. Pretty impressive, right? Well, anyway, one could argue that her role as the Guardian of the Soul Emerald is very similar to how Knuckles is the Guardian of the Master Emerald. Both of them had those roles handed down to them through their family heritage, so they didn't really have much of a choice in that matter. And in return, that caused the both of them to be rather isolated from other people. While Knuckles may have a hard time with it, Blaze is honestly more isolated than he is, because of her perspective on her pyrokinesis. She viewed her flames as more of a curse, and the main reason for her being isolated from other people. I mean, she did flat out say to Sonic in Sonic Rush, "I am the guardian of the Soul Emeralds. It is a fate that forces me to live with my curse, my flames. Because of my powers, I have always been alone." Also in the official strategy guide for Sonic Generations by Brady Games, it further emphasizes on how Blaze viewed her flames as a curse in her bio, where it says, "Born with pyrokinesis, the ability to make flames, she endured a lot of teasing from other children due to her initial inability to control her gift. Seeing her abilities as a curse, she became shy, withdrawn, and self-reliant." Given how closed off Blaze has been throughout her life, it took a bit of doing for her to find her true friends and to feel open to express who she is. And the story of Sonic Rush explains how she did just that. In Sonic Rush, she was taken to Sonic's dimension after the Soul Emeralds were taken to his dimension thanks to Eggman and his Soul Dimension counterpart, Eggman Nega. Being the princess of the Soul Dimension and the guardian of the Soul Emeralds, she had a strong will to get the Soul Emeralds back, as she felt that it was her duty being the guardian of the Soul Emeralds for the sake of protecting her own people. On her journey of getting the Soul Emeralds back, she ran across many of Sonic's friends. Cream was the first one she came across. Blaze just wanted to mind her own business and get the Soul Emeralds back, but she was taken by surprise when Cream just went up to her and greeted her out of nowhere. Heck, Cream even invited Blaze to her own house when they first met. Blaze just had no clue on how friendly some people could be. After visiting Cream's house, Cream tagged along with Blaze on her journey to collect the Soul Emeralds, though Blaze was very reluctant about it. Throughout Blaze's journey with Cream at her side, they go through each stage retrieving Soul Emeralds one by one, and meet some of Sonic's friends along the way. Blaze being Blaze, she didn't want to get caught up in conversations, but Cream more or less dragged her into them. Through her interactions with Sonic's friends, she was constantly reminded that she can't carry the weight of her world on her own, and that she needs to rely on her friends sometimes. But the concept of friends was so unfamiliar to her after being in isolation for most of her life. She grew up not being allowed to express herself, and it ended up being really taxing on her social and even mental health. However, Cream did manage to get Blaze to crack a smile on her face a couple times, So it seems that we have hope for our feline friend to learn about opening up and making friends. Later in the story, when Blaze was about to get the last Soul Emerald from Eggman, Sonic was there to lend a helping hand, but Blaze demanded that she must take care of this problem on her own. Sonic genuinely wanted to help, but with Blaze being as stubborn as she is, she decided to duke it out against Sonic to get her point across that she must tackle this problem by herself. After the fight, Blaze got exhausted, and it was at this point when she realized that she can't carry the weight of her world on her own, and that she maybe just needs to rely on others for once. So she had no other choice but to swallow her pride and put her trust in Sonic and accept his help. Throughout Blaze's story in Sonic Rush, we see that she's constantly challenged with being more sociable and putting her trust in others, but over time, she starts seeing that having friends and opening up to others is not so bad after all. She even went out of her way to rescue Cream from Eggman at the end of her story, because she knew that Cream was a worthy friend to her. Now of course, like any Sonic game, there's gotta be a final story to truly wrap things up. And while we saw Blaze grow personally and socially in her story, her newfound love for friendship was tested in the final story of Sonic Rush. To sum up what happened in the final story, Blaze felt defeated and useless for not being able to utilize the power of the Soul Emeralds, but Sonic and his friends were there to help remind her that she's not useless, and that she's worth something to each and every one of her friends that she made in Sonic's world. That reminder showed Blaze the true superpower of friendship, which is that they're always there for her, even in the toughest of times. And with that realization, Blaze now felt comfortable being her true self in front of everyone, and was able to unleash the power of the Soul Emeralds and transform into Burning Blaze, which allowed her and Super Sonic to defeat the Eggmen and save their worlds. After defeating the Eggmen, Blaze had to part ways with Sonic and return to her world, which was honestly harder than she thought it'd be. But as Blaze returns to her world, she realizes that if it weren't for Sonic, Cream, and everyone else in Sonic's world, she wouldn't have learned such an important lesson about friendship. She also realized that while she was isolated from everyone, she saw her flames as a curse. But after swallowing her pride and letting people in her life, her friends helped bring the good out in her, and helped her see her flames not as a curse, but as a blessing. So the next time you feel shy, anxious, prideful, or even down, just remember Blaze and how she put her trust in others, made friends, and opened up to them. Because at the end of the day, life is meaningful when you have friends.
The base ideas for Sonic Rush, and therefore Blaze, started all the way back during the development of one of the GOATs of 2D Sonic, being Sonic Advance 3, so around 2003 to 2004, where lead director of all the GBA games and soon to be Sonic Rush, Akanori Nishiyama, believed at the time of the third advanced installment, the games were getting too complicated with having to balance Sonic's abilities and making levels that accommodated for all the included characters. So in the next game he would direct, he wanted to opt for a more streamlined approach, with Nintendo Power in December of 2005. With this new Rush game, they decided to stick with 2 characters and flesh the game out around that. The team decided to set Rush in a whole different dimension than any other prior Sonic game, so atop of one of the playable slots being taken by Sonic, a new character was designed that was the equal to Sonic, being the mysterious and withdrawn Princess Blaze the Cat, defender of the Chaos Emeralds of this dimension, aka the Soul Emeralds. Blaze was first shown off at the E3 2005 showcase, and according to this IGN article, Sonic Team only described that she would have her own levels, abilities. We wouldn't get to see the fiery feline in her full blaze of glory until 4 months later on September 6th at the 2005 Tokyo Game Show, where Blaze was fully revealed, showing off her gameplay and giving everyone a taste of what was to come for the final rush of release. Blaze was received with very high praise in her gameplay debut, with even 2005 IGN stating when discussing their impression on Blaze and Sonic Rush as a whole, Blaze the Cat easily earned her place in the team, however, as her playstyle was directly influenced by Sonic, only with different stat attributes. Blaze's moves are all fancy dancing moves, as she pirouettes through the air and does abounding twirls through enemies. She also has a charge similar to Sonic's for dashing off at full speed when needed, and is a good counterpart for the Hedgehog. Rush would release 2 months later with glowing praise overall, garnering an 82 on Metacritic and IGN even giving it a 9 out of 10. That being said though, the idea conjures in the mind, who exactly on the Sonic Team Dimps collab thought of the original design of Blaze? And well, the answer isn't as easy as it seems. Yuji Uwakawa was slotted as Sonic Rush's lead art director, with him designing Blaze into what we know her as of today, and with a lot of other characters in the series too. But for Blaze, it's actually unknown who created her initial designs, as they're not officially cited as Uwakawa's work. The question then arises, well, who exactly made them? Let's get talking about it, but first, let's discuss what constitutes her final design.
In Blaze the Cat's final design, she has lavender fur, a white muzzle with a small black nose, and golden eyes with long eyelashes. One of the most notable features on her head are the red jewel or bindi on her forehead, and her dark purple tipped hair plumes held with a red scrunchie. She also has triangle-shaped ears with peach-colored canals, and longer fur on the sides of her face. As we move down, we see that she's wearing a purple tailcoat with a magenta lining on it, as well as a gold collar around her neck. She's also wearing white gloves with fur cuffs on them, white leggings, magenta high heels with fur cuffs, and a white bar across them. And it's honestly quite remarkable how fast Blaze can run, considering that she's wearing high heels. And as for her last notable feature, I'd say that it's the tip of her tail being frayed and dark purple. That pretty much sums up the final design, and if I gotta say so myself, and you know I had to say it, she looks quite ablazing, right? I mean, come on. You see me say it in my quoted tweets about her.
Let's get started with the first, unknown, and radically different design of Blaze. This is her earliest and most contrasting design from the rest in this group, where she looks like those fire powers burnt her to a crisp. Seriously though, her final design would keep the same semblance of proportions and some accessories and still keep that feminine feline look in both designs. Everything here for the most part is completely different, starting with the most obvious being the complete change in color scheme, where in this prototype, she's sporting a black, red, light blue, and white accenting scheme compared to her lavender, purple, red, white, and gold of her final design. With this design, it also seemed the artist really leaned in on the whole fire princess thing, as her hair in this looks more similar to a flame, whereas in the final, it's a tied back ponytail with the purple plumes of her hair jetting upward. Some other things I also found interesting were specifically with her nose. In the prototype, she keeps that same oval-like nose similar to Sonic's, where that ends up being replaced with a more button-shaped cat-like nose. One aspect that stayed throughout her design was the large jewel that in the prototype is in her torso, while in the final was placed on her head. Atop this, there was also another piece of art that was shared from Rush's development that has both Sonic and Proto-Blaze on it, really accentuating the whole two sides of the story that Rush has. We do finally get somewhat of an answer regarding these mysterious designs and who designed them, as back on Christmas of 2011, writer for lastminutecontinue at the time named Sonic Rex, ex-Sega employee Kevin Era, shared with the world these two designs coming from what he described as an early 2005 Sega prototype development PowerPoint in the article. I reached out to Mr. Era on Twitter, where he was kind enough to answer some questions I had for him regarding Blaze, her early designs, and the design document as a whole. Kevin worked for Sega of Europe from the mid-2000s to the early 2010s as one of the community managers and team leaders for SOE. He took care of many things within the community, ranging from the Sega Europe blog, the Sonic-focused Blognik, Sonic City official web portal, the social media channels, and the big Summer of Sonic event, and more. He dispersed these concept images over the period of a few months, with the logo coming on Christmas and the two full blow-ups of the characters coming on February 4th and 8th of 2012. He did speculate and discuss the comparisons this design had to Shadow, and how potentially this could even be from SA2's production as a prototype Shadow, or connected to Shadow's backstory, before going with the whole Fire Princess origin for Blaze. I asked him about this too, where he said, "In this case, I think it's more an allusion to Shadow. How and why, and even if this was deliberate, I simply do not know. You can wonder if Blaze was at one point going to be Shadow's equivalent in her dimension, or another creation of Professor Gerald, but it'd be pure speculation." In the article, he also discussed how there seemed to have been a series of instructional sketches that were put into these early production documents, or PowerPoints in this case, that describe proposed gimmicks. While he did clarify this document was related overall to Sonic Rush, it could have been earlier, just that early 2005 was the only considered concrete time frame. Back when lastminutecontinue was called Sonic Rex, and before I started at Sega importantly, we had a section called the Depository. I was interested in preserving the various media that had been put out: character art, wallpapers, videos, concept art, music, sound files, etc. It was popular enough that Sega Europe, America, and Japan were using it to download art files. We had a small network of hunters who would go off, then email me some stuff maybe 6 months later. This is how I got a series of internal documents from Sonic Team, Sega of Japan, relating to a few games of that era. The document, which was either a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation. And here's the big zinger regarding the source of this art. Kevin discussed the origin of the designs on his website, saying that they were so early that Uwakawa may not have even drawn these, and I found it funny. It seemed people were claiming these were fake due to the stark contrast. Anyways, he said, "The item itself is a concept drawing, so no, it doesn't look professional, as it is a first stage concept. It might have even been done by a dimps artist for all we know. It was included in a PowerPoint document that sets out the planned features for the game back in early 2005. When talking on Twitter, he went more into detail about this elusive design document and its origins. It laid out the basics of Sonic Rush and the mechanics. Whenever they do this, they show things off with little sketches and the like, the sort you'd see in a manual maybe, but drawn by someone in the design team. These aren't official images for use, they're game mechanic storyboards and concept art to get the idea off the ground. So not anything overseen by Uwakawa, but more likely something done by the dimps team. It's really interesting to me that the first look we ever got of Blaze may have been from an uncredited dimps artist instead of Uwakawa. It makes me also wonder how different Blaze and the Soul Dimension would have turned out if this was the final Blaze. Moving on to some more traditional concept art, these being done by Uwakawa. Starting with these two more tiger-looking designs that, while looking similar, are not the exact same. Focusing on the front-facing shot on the left here, which has Blaze with much more of a tribalistic look to her in my opinion, with the dark accenting on her face, ears, and hair. This design reminds me a lot of a tiger or a lynx, mainly due to her posture being a lot more closed off and aggressive, much like these animals, and also seeing the accenting on her face and the larger ears, representing of something you'd see with the stripes of a tiger and overall facial structure of a lynx. She's also rocking these knee-high, boot-like shoes with what seems like straps or laces compared to her final high heels. On a little side note, something I found that was kind of cool while making this was how her shoes are a reflection of Sonic's in terms of design, with the purple and white versus his red and white. Kind of a neat little visual tidbit to show their similarities. With the side profile here, the big thing I noticed was her gloves that mirror Sonic's just like the shoes, along with a much shorter tail and these low-cut shoes swapping out from the high boots of the prior prototype design. Another kind of neat thing was how she seems to be wearing more of a dress/gown here, kind of like Cream's dress compared to her classic tailcoat. Moving on to the next two, which show off a more Arabian Blaze look, it does make me kind of wonder the different variations the Soul Dimension went through and how that could have possibly influenced the different designs that Blaze had. Anyways, looking at this large piece here, what I also found really unique is the Arabian influence, as she seems to be wearing a salwar. If you don't know what a salwar is, like myself before researching for this video, it's a form of a trouser that is typically wide at the waist but narrow to form a cuffed bottom. The clothing item is held up by a drawstring or elastic belt, with the trousers can be wide and baggy or they can be cut quite narrow. Salwars have traditionally been worn around Eastern Europe, West Asia, Central Asia, and South Asia. This Arabian Middle Eastern influence is all over the design, even with the sandals and sporting a really cool looking necklace-like side chain on the side of her pants that I imagine would end up evolving into her final gold necklace. I find this cultural influence really cool, especially how Uwakawa was able to blend that Arabian influence with the South Asian influence that was shown throughout all of these designs, and even with her final accessories like the gem on her forehead. Being a nod to the bindi of South Asian Hindu culture that is traditionally worn by women for religious purposes and as a beauty mark. Moving on to the next design, that is a variation of the prior Arabian-inspired one. This now has her keeping the sandals and overall aesthetic of the prior design, but now removing the salwar for a more vest piece of clothing, along with a large piece of cloth flowing in front, sketched with flames, and her sporting some more cuffed pants that too also have flames accenting the bottom portion. I suppose this is to represent that she can control fire, which is pretty cool. I also really like the cuffs she had on her arms, replacing the gold necklace of final. We got another variation of this design, this time with a side profile, kind of blending the two prior ones as she retains the cuff pants from the previous one, but keeps the salwar-like top from the other design. Moving on to the last couple of designs we have here, now these are really cool, showing Blaze using her fire abilities. Mainly focusing on the left here with this design, while I don't think this is a prototype of Burning Blaze or anything, it's incredibly sick nonetheless. I absolutely adore this design. She has that smugness of like, don't mess with me, you'd see like Supersonic have, and while this is significantly different from her final look, ditching the high heels, gloves, and even hairband for a bandana, along with the huge flame imprint accenting her face, and the giant jewel on her head. And last, but certainly not least, we have this fully colored concept of an unused cape for Blaze. This actually doesn't come from Sonic Rush, but the fully leaked Sonic 06 script and character spreadsheet. It discusses her character traits, mentioning how she wears a cape to hide her flames, because she was teased, although when provoked, she would toss it off when she's ready to fight. This sounds so freaking sick, but unfortunately the cape would never surface until Sonic Generations 3DS concept art gallery, where this image officially surfaced for the first time. My guess is they were probably going to give it to her in 06 to kind of differentiate her design from Rush a bit, but it never came to fruition like a lot of the other super cool things that were going to be in 06. On Twitter, Meikawa confirmed that there was a draft of the script that tied into Sonic Rush, therefore making it an actual prequel to 06, which of course we never got. Instead, it being incredibly convoluted with her having like 2 origins in Rush in 06 and whatever else. On a completely different note, a compilation of the previously mentioned art was showcased at Sonic's 25th anniversary party at Joyopolis in Tokyo, along with a lot of other art we've discussed in the past. Pretty sweet. Blaze has been around for a while now, lending her to multiple voice actors throughout the years. Per usual, we're going to go over the English and Japanese voice actors for Blaze, starting on the English side with her first voice actor being Erica Schroeder, who voiced Blaze from her debut in 2005 to 2010. Schroeder has also voiced Wave in Sonic Riders, Monkey D. Luffy in One Piece, and Bianca in Pokemon Best Wishes.
By the way, Eldarin, did you know that Erica Schroeder's name was misspelled in the credits of Sonic Rush? Well, not her actual name, but her other name, Bella Hudson. They ended up spelling Bella with 2 R's instead of 2 L's, so her name ends up looking like Bera Hudson. My best guess as to why this happened is because in Japanese, there's no true R or L sound. There is a Japanese hiragana letter ra that's basically a mix of the English L and R sound. So probably the person that wrote the credits were native Japanese and misspelled her name for that reason. Anyway, I just felt like I'd add that little tidbit in there.
Wow, now that is a classic Sega moment. Her next voice actor was Laura Bailey, who voiced her from 2010 to 2016. Bailey's a very popular voice actor currently, and it actually surprised me she voiced Blaze, as I didn't know that. She's also voiced Chun-Li in the Street Fighter games, Lucina in Fire Emblem Awakening, Nadine Ross in the Uncharted games, Gotenks and Kid Trunks in Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods, and even Omochao. And finally, her current voice actor on the English side being Erica Lindbeck, who started voicing her in 2019 till present as of this video. Lindbeck has also voiced Omochao, Black Cat in Spider-Man PS4, Chi-Lai in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, aka the best animated movie, Jericho in 7 Deadly Sins, and many more. As for the Japanese voice cast, like most of the JP Sonic crew, there's been very minimal changes, with only Nao Takamori voicing her since 2005 till present. Takamori has also been in quite a lot herself, with her voicing Wyvern in Bakugan Battle Brawlers, Kuma in Carried by the Wind, and Ino Idamu in Wild Arms 4, just to name a few. Well guys, that's gonna be it. I want to give a huge shout out to Samic for helping me out with this video. Make sure to check him out, as not only is he a great guy, but he makes a ton of killer Sonic content. I hope I was able to give you guys some cool facts and trivia to take away with this video. I found Blaze's evolution through her concept designs to what we know her as today incredibly interesting to take a look at. Thanks so much for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video.